Welcome back to that Heartbreak Hogs podcast. Sid, today we're going to be talking about those Razorback hoops. You ready, dude?
Finally.
Fine.
Finally.
Yeah, man. We need to we need to have more videos about the Razor hoops instead of LSU
Yep.
losses.
Looking forward to something.
Yep. So, this is our first video on the Razorbacks basketball situation with Coach Cal. There's going to be a exhibition game on Friday, I believe. We've got a couple coming up, and I think the one on Friday, that one's the Kansas one.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I did ask Sid if he remembered where he was when he heard the Coach Cal was the coach of the Razorbacks, and I guess it wasn't that big of a moment for him.
I was shocked whenever I did see it. I don't remember where I was. I just remember seeing it on my phone and not believing it.
Yeah.
And they thought it was one of those like, fake media posts
Yep.
that until I saw it was like the sources were actually factual.
Mm-hmm.
And I still couldn't believe it.
Right. Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a story. I don't know if I told you this, Sid, yet. I might have. But at the gym, there's a guy that I talk to that's a big Kentucky fan. And at the end of the year, um, we were kind of going back and forth when Muss had left, when like, hey, who do you think Arkansas is gonna get? This, that, and the other. What do you think of Coach Cal at Kentucky? All that. And it was on a Saturday or it may have been Sunday. I don't remember the specific day, but um, I go to the gym, I talk to him, and I look at my phone. And on X, I see this notification that somebody is tracking planes or something and says something about Eurocheck heading to Kentucky. And it seemed kind of like it was a joke. And then all of a sudden, more and more related stuff about like um, Coach Cal coming to Arkansas. And so I made a joke to him and I was like, hey, man, I think the Hogs might be taking Cal from you. It's probably just a joke, but I'm seeing like this stuff on Twitter that's kind of starting to catch a little smoke. And maybe there's a fire there, and he's like, take him. And he's joking around with me because they're, sick of him, which is ridiculous. But, you know, and so shortly before my interaction with him, there's this X Space, and this X Space, I think it was hosted by Pinto or something. He's a big time Razorback on X Space, but um, this was right after it was announced that morning that we were interviewing the coach at Arkansas Little Rock. And so this X Space was so toxic. Everybody is talking about how Arkansas's broke. We're going to be bottom of the SEC again and everything. And I remember leaving a comment on that space and said, let's wait until something is announced before we start roasting the university and saying we don't have any resources. Just wait it out. We don't know who they're going to hire. And 2 hours later, from that space, Coach Cal started getting announced from first it was Arkansas media and then national media, and it was insane. I know that's a long story, but it is kind of for me like one of those situations where I was like, I remember exactly what was going on that day, what I was doing, because it was such a shock that we got a celebrity hire here to Arkansas, and everybody was reacting to it. Everybody. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, it was massive news. It was across every outlet, every
mhm,
media outlet, not just in Arkansas, but like every single person. If you follow basketball, or even if you don't, I feel like
mhm,
even those people were seeing this news because it was just so widespread
yep,
um, when it was announced. Because when you think of Coach Cal, I know he's been on other teams before, Kentucky, but when you think of Coach Cal, you think of Kentucky.
right.
And so just even for the first time, seeing him in red was like kind of looked different, right? Kind
Yeah,
of looked
yeah,
off
yeah,
um, because it's just when you think of Coach Cal, you think of that blue,
Mhm.
Kentucky blue, and so, um, but yeah, no, I'm very excited and
Yep.
looking forward to the season.
Yeah, the red is starting to look pretty awesome too whenever you see him wearing red. Like you said at first it was kind of a little weird, and I think that he held back from it for a little while because I think it was such a drastic change.
Yeah,
And I remember early the media was like they were getting mad at fans for saying he needs to wear more red. He needs to wear more red because he's still wearing like this blue stuff. And like media was like defending him saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter what he wears." What are you talking about? We want Cal to wear red. Like
yeah, of course.
what? I don't know if you remember that, Sid, but I saw
I
all these
don't.
people
Yeah,
defending him saying, "I don't care what Coach Cal wears as long as he's at Arkansas." What are you talking about? Give that man more red and it
yeah,
looks badass, you know? Like
yeah,
so
and
anyway, I know we try to keep it clean on here, but I felt like that was worth saying. It looks awesome, and like I want him to stick with that red. I don't know why anybody would say, oh, he can wear whatever color he wants. No, wear Razorback
no,
red.
now he has to. We got
Yeah,
to get used to it, right?
yeah.
And the more he
The
wears it, the
nation needs to
more.
get used to it.
Exactly. The more he
Hmm.
wears it, the more he's gonna like associate. I mean, this season, of course, um, first few games is gonna be off too. Do you remember that one game when we went to it was a Kentucky Arkansas game at Bud Walton, and
Hmm.
it was possibly like the
Dude,
loudest atmosphere in the
when he got
ever.
kicked out of the game.
And he got kicked out, and a crowd erupted
Yep,
when he got
and
kicked out.
you and me, we were jumping on the bleachers, and we were pulling everybody up in the student
Oh,
section and telling them to hit
yeah,
the
get out of
bleachers,
here.
to
Yeah.
jump, and all sorts of stuff, man. We were banging around, and, like, we got the whole crowd in our area involved, like, anybody was sitting down, we picked them up, and we're like, "You get up!"
That
Oh, man.
I don't think a single person was sitting down when that happened, and as
Mhm.
soon as he got
Well,
kicked
there weren't
out,
near us, I'll tell you that
yeah,
much. We weren't
as
allowing
soon
such
as
a
they got
thing.
kicked out, I mean, that eruption was just like top 3 Arkansas moments for me whenever I think of sports moments for me,
Yeah.
whenever I think of Arkansas sports and being there live,
Yeah.
and to think that he is our head coach now, that now
Right.
we're not gonna be screaming for him to get kicked out at Bud Walton, we want him to stay. We
Mhm.
want him to never be kicked out.
Isn't that crazy how that can work, man?
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But it is really cool. We're really excited, and I just kind of wanted to dive in today on this episode about expectations and kind of, you know, uh, put the expectations out there. And one of the things that he's kind of talked about since getting hired is how big of a standing ovation he's been getting from fans and all the publicity and love from the state, all of that. But he's also been like, I want to see how you guys respond when we lose a game. If we lose one big game or lose a game we're not supposed to, what are you guys going to do? And we've talked about it on this podcast before. Fans have short term memories. And there are some narratives out there that he can relax and do whatever he wants at Arkansas. That is not true. If if he starts losing here, fans will not tolerate that, and not predicting that that would happen, but I just kind of wanted to put that out there and see what you say about this too, Sid, is we are on cloud 9 right now, but if he doesn't come in here and win, I know some people are saying, "Oh, as long as they make the tournament, that's fine," or as long as he wins one tournament game, that's fine. Wait until that actually unfolds and see if you think it's fine, because if we make the tournament and we lose in the first round, I guarantee you a lot of people are not going to be saying that's fine. So, Sid, what are your
Okay,
kind of thoughts
so
on
I'm
that?
on the fence here, and because so expectations are high for me, just like every Razorback fan,
Right.
um, but I know Razorback sports. I know the Heartbreak Hogs, and
Hey, we're
and
trying to change that narrative around here.
I know, but until I see it,
Yeah.
it's I'm trying not to like it's hard not to build your expectations, right?
Yeah.
And the high momentum and like whatever. But
Mhm.
I keep thinking to myself, I've been here, I've been through this. Until I see it, nothing's gonna change that for me.
Yeah.
Um, but it's that line right now. It's a balance right now where the hype is there. Of course, the hype is there.
Yeah.
Every single fan will be there. Even at the exhibition game, I'd be surprised if it's not sold out. Um,
Yeah, I know,
but
right?
it's the until I see it mentality for me. Um, I can't. Even though it is Coach Cal, even though he did bring in these insane recruits, 4-star, 5-star, mostly 5-star recruits,
Yeah.
or transfers. But I'm not holding my breath just yet. In that, in terms of let's see it play out. And you're right. I mean, fans will not just be happy if he's our coach and we are not doing well.
Right.
In that sense, where we expect him to be great and this team
Yeah.
to be great, but if it doesn't happen, we will turn on it. I mean, Muss even went through that, right? Muslim in the first few years, fans were completely going for him. And then once he started, kind of the last year having off whatever season, and then not doing so well, fans, I mean, went after him, and then he
Yeah.
also kind of went in a different direction where he's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to take this because he wasn't he expecting that after so much love from the fans, but fans are only love you as much as the wins that we get
Yeah.
because that we're passionate fans.
Yeah.
We're not just gonna let you
Mhm.
buy just from the name itself. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter who you are.
Yeah. All that passion for loving the guy for coming here, all those standing ovations and all those big crowds when he arrived can be just you can have the complete opposite of a huge crowd throwing tomatoes at you. You know, all that passion can go the other way 180 degrees, you
Yep.
know,
It could
if
be
there's no
yeah.
results, you know.
Could be a small coach. It could be I mean, his
Right.
big name is Coach Cal, but I just think it's of course with the bigger name there's more expectations
Right.
and there's a bigger fall at that as well. On
Mhm.
the other hand, where if the expectations are high and they're not lived up to, it falls and then we turn on them. Again, hope that doesn't happen. Hope I see some W's this season and I hope it's a great season for us. His
Yeah,
first
man.
year, I know, but and we only kept 2 guys, I believe, from last season, but he's brought over guys that he trusts and he's brought over some recruits that and transfers that he really believes in. So he's already proven that he wants to win by doing that, right? By he started with like bare minimum, but the people that he's been able to bring in such a short time to this team shows that the players believe in him and players will fight for him every single game.
Yep. I just noticed that we have a football background. So
Well, it's still football season.
I'm
Basketball season just
I'm about to
hasn't started.
change that. So um that changes in progress now. While that changes in progress, Sid, um
We do have 4 games left or 5
what
games left.
yeah, yeah, but for this video, it's gonna end with a basketball background. Um
That's fair.
I think everybody will like this background that's gonna be up here soon. But Sid, I'm gonna let you, while I fiddle with this background, answer what expectations do you have for this year? What will you be happy with? And what will make you disappointed?
I told you, I mean, I have high expectations, but for me, I mean, the expectations is to win, make the tournament, and um, go far in the tournament. I just said it's high expectations. If that doesn't happen, will it shock me as a fan? No, because I have that Razorback blood in me almost where I have been through
Don't drag the
the
heartbreak into
heartbreaks,
this.
been through the heartbreaks where I know that as much as I build it up, as big of the down, like the bigger the downfall is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to be hopefully not heartbroken, but um, my expectations, like I said, it has to be. There is no, especially in college basketball nowadays with NILs. There's no, oh, we did okay. We'll get them in the next year, or the next 3 years, or building like that.
Yeah.
No, with college basketball nowadays, it's 1 year, and you have to show that you are that competitive team.
Yeah.
Um, and in your first year, I'm sorry, but you have to figure it out. You have to gel together.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it takes.
Yeah.
In your first year. So in the first year, I'm expecting wins. I'm expecting to go far in the tournament. I'd be disappointed if we didn't. Um, but I also want to keep my hopes at bay almost and not build them up too much. But it's hard to.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you about the whole 1 year thing. You're supposed to get it together in basketball, especially with the transfer portal. Um, and just the talent that Coach Cal is able to bring in. He is a 1 year type of guy anyway, because every single year he has a new roster. So this isn't anything new for him. The other thing is we have, I believe it's a number 3 class according to 24/7 Sports. Let me double check this.
When I also saw, I mean, preseason rankings, we were 16th. But I mean, it is preseason, but still, um, just being ranked 16th is also a little worrisome.
Yeah, it's not letting me go
I don't know.
on
Did
this
you see that?
website. Did what?
That the
Sorry.
preseason rankings we had, we were ranked 16th, um, with A&M ahead of us, Tennessee ahead of us, Auburn ahead of us, um, just to name some SEC teams. But it doesn't make me feel that great. But again, preseason rankings are, it's just what it is. I mean, time will
Yeah.
tell if they hold up or not.
So recruiting on 24/7 Sports, we have the number 1 transfer class and the number 3 high school recruiting class. So we've got some dudes, and some of these guys are going to be one and dones. Both some of the transfers, 1 year at Arkansas at least and done. Brazil will probably have just one more year. So a lot of these guys, Boogie Flan might be a one and done for a freshman. Um, John L. Davis, this might be his last year, so just 1 year. Big Z. I mean, there's a number of guys that could be this. That they're just playing one more year or 1 year
Mhm.
total. So, um, with that being said, how can expectations not be high with the roster that is being built? Yes, you said they
Right.
came out at 16, and I think that's just because it's Arkansas mixed with
Yeah.
Coach Cal hasn't won a tournament game in a while. So for me, my expectations are obviously the NCAA tournament. Um, I think that I, I think that you've got to at least make the Sweet 16 for me. I would be a little disappointed if they didn't get further than the Sweet 16. So if they don't make the Elite 8, I'd be a little disappointed, but I wouldn't be like, oh, the season was a bust. I would say get to the Sweet 16, win it, and I would be like, okay, that's a great first year. If
Hmm.
it's if you get to the Sweet 16, well, you had the number one transfer class, you had the number three high school class. Um, I'm sure like overall your roster is probably top five, top 10 too, whenever it comes to composite talent. Um, so it's just like, why are you not finishing
Yeah,
at
and
that?
especially after his season, I mean, last year with Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
losing in that first round against
Right.
Oakland. Um,
And yeah, and one
yeah,
other
and the
piece
SEC tournament.
is I want to see where they finish in the SEC.
Hmm.
So I want to see like are we not going to go far in the tournament because of seeding, where we just didn't have a very good regular season and we get super tough matchups like what would happen with Muss sometimes? Or are we going to be like top two, top three, and make runs in the SEC tournament and like have would it be about like 30 wins? I think Cal would
Yeah,
average
but
around like 30 wins, right?
in the tournaments, still anything have even three seats fall for like, so it's a whole different ball game once he gets in the tournament. Um, I I
So I guess
agree with
about
the higher seeding, but
yeah.
I agree
Sorry.
with the higher seeding, but once it gets to the tournament, it's a different ball game, and it's being ability your ability to kind of not taking anyone for granted and playing each game by
Right.
game.
Right.
Um,
But you don't want to be playing, a high seed like Duke in the first round or anything.
right.
I don't think you would, but like maybe a UConn if they're like a 3 or 4 seed. You don't want to
Yep.
play them in like the first round, cuz you're an 8 or 9 seed or something like that. Um so that's kind of what I mean by like it does matter sometimes because of the path, to get there, and you'd feel a lot better playing like a Montana State in the first round
Yeah.
versus, one of those teams from a power conference like a Miami or, something like that.
If we lose
Um
to Montana State in the tournament first round, I'm coming back to you
d-
on to this video.
ah,
I'm calling you out.
oh my gosh. Yeah, it better not happen. And like I am super stoked. And I'm not saying anything bad is going to happen. I'm just saying like you said, being a Razorback fan, we should brace ourselves and we should not pump too much sunshine. Let's see the results and let's enjoy
Yeah.
it. Because here's the thing, if it's going to be really good, we're going to make really great positive reaction videos, you know?
Right.
But if it's not so good, we're going to be kind of sitting here going like, why isn't it very good? Why are
Yeah.
we losing?
And
Um,
it's got to be good for another reason, right? Because
mhm.
this is his first year to prove not to only the fans, but for next year's recruits, like you
Right.
said, because it's
Right.
one and done. So next year, do we get players? I think
Yeah.
it's going to depend on how he does this year as
Yeah.
well. So
In
that's
the
another thing to think
2025
about.
class, that class for 2025 is looking really good, but like it's about how you do in this season that keeps those
Exactly.
guys. And then you can grab
Yeah.
one or two more if you really exceed expectations, early
Because
on.
nowadays, like kids decommit all the time, and
Mhm.
it really matters on
Right.
how the season turns out.
Yeah.
And
Steal some
if
boys
the
from Kentucky and Yukon.
yeah, if the nation's looking at you, and looking at you in a positive way, you better believe all those recruits have their eyes on you as well.
Mhm.
Um, but if it's the opposite end, it doesn't matter who the name is. I don't think it would be hard to convince them to come here, and I think that's why Muss had like the first couple of years he had was able to get that momentum in getting recruits, and he was great at recruiting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Um,
was. He got 5
for that
stars here.
reasons, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people are some of the national media and other people that don't really follow this super close are like, "Oh yeah, the 5 stars, that's the Calipari effect." And it's like, "Yes, but it's also Musk got 5 stars here." Like Musk had one of the
Hmm.
best recruiting class in Razorback history. Um
Yeah.
he brought high talent here. So, it's not like this is the only time that this has ever happened and it's, but we're happy that all this talent is coming here. It's like we're not complaining, but yeah. I mean, I'm stoked for it. I was really excited. I remember I texted my dad and I was like, "Hey," I sent him a couple Twitter posts and I was like, "I think Coach Cal might actually be coming here." And my dad was like, "Oh, we don't want him. Why do we want him?" And then it was like I was like, "No, no, really. Like it looks like he's coming here. National media is starting to report it." And he's like, "Oh, wow. No, this is great." Oh my gosh, it was hilarious because we were so trained to not like him because he was at Kentucky, you know,
Right.
and then also like making fun of him losing every round.
Yeah.
And you know, now we've kind of had to eat our words on that, and then we see the bling and the shine and you know all that the aura around his name, and we're just like, "Yes, we want that here. Yes, yes. Come on, Cal. Let's come to Arkansas. Let's go."
Right. No, I had
So,
a buddy actually, Michelle, you met him, but he was
mhm.
living in Kentucky at the time as well, and he's still in Cincinnati. He he was even like he was the closest one to Cincy in Kentucky, and he was had to be a Kentucky fan because he's close there.
Yeah.
And he was very shocked as well. I mean, Kentucky fans, I know as much as you kind of didn't like that he wasn't getting you there, you have to be at least shocked, if not like kind of amazed that he not just left, but he also left in the SEC and to Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
just that's another thing that's like kind of big.
What a crazy situation that all was, and that's what's so big about one of our donors having that connection to a coach. And I think for football, going back to that real quick, is football, if you can get a guy, you know, if Sam steps away from the program for whatever reason, you get a donor like that that has a guy in mind that can fill the NIL, you know, you can kind of look at this Cal situation and try to replicate it in a lot of areas around the sports. I know basketball is every sport is different, it's got its own things, but fundraising is fairly similar. You know, being able to get the NIL and being able to get those big names here, it is obviously it is possible. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, for sure. Football is a little bit different, I still think, but
it is.
basketball basketball, but yeah, it's possible for sure.
Right. I'm just talking about the NIL fundraising whenever it comes to getting
Right.
funds there. Um, there's similarities to that. Yes, uh, you know, distributing the funds and all that. Yes, you have to fill up 10 man roster in basketball. You got to do 80 something in football. I get that. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there just because of how crazy that situation was where Musselman, I remember him asking for like $2.5 million for NIL.
Hmm.
And this was his last year here. And he
Yeah.
couldn't even get that. He couldn't even get like 2.5 mil. Um, and I may not be super accurate like on that exact number. I think that's what it was. It was about two
Hmm.
and a half. If it wasn't 2.5, it was close to that number. But anyway, he couldn't get it, and I think that was
He
part of the
still
reason that
did the
maybe he
best I
left.
think we he could with
Oh, he
that
did
like
great.
money
He
in
did
terms
great.
of
I'm
like
not hating on him or
um
anything.
yeah, he brought
No.
national attention to
Yeah,
Arkansas as well,
100%.
honestly.
If it wasn't for Muss, we wouldn't have the situation with Cal right now.
I think so, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
And that wasn't to disrespect Muss. What I was getting
right.
at was how different when you bring a different type of guy to raise the funds like Cal and the
Hmm.
way that he works, the way that he's going around the state and promoting um you know his program around the state, getting funds, he just does it differently. And that's you know that's what I'm talking about of there's a way to raise funds that can be accomplished throughout any type of sport. If you go out to
Yeah.
the community and you do these things, you can raise the funds. Now, what you do with it is different for each sports or you know every sport. But anyway, let's kind of stick with this right now. But yeah, I think that that kind of covers it. I was thinking about doing like maybe who would your starting five be, but honestly, I think each game because of the matchup, it's
Yeah,
going to
I
be
kind of want to
different.
see how this exhibition plays out. Now, I know
And
it's
there's
just for
injuries, and there's
exactly
injuries, right?
KU side. There's a bunch of injuries as well, and I just kind of want to see how. I mean,
Mhm.
it's an exhibition game though, playing for fun, but
Mhm.
how this team like kind of initial look at it. I mean, from an exhibition game shows a lot. I mean, last year we won our exhibition game, but after that, our season wasn't as good, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really tell a lot, but. Um,
Yeah.
It doesn't really tell a
Isn't that
lot,
the truth?
but it's kinda just the added hype and added, feel around the players and kind of seeing the players out on actually, like,
Yeah.
for a game, even if it's just a exhibition pickup type of game.
Is there a guy that you're most excited for this year coming up? Whether high school, transfer, Brazil being
No, I mean,
the only
Brazil
guy.
will be interesting because yeah, exactly, him being one of the only person staying,
Mhm.
and seeing like, there's a reason why he is here still, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he proved, I think, just to the coaches, just to fans and everyone that he is capable of being great.
Yeah.
Um, and then outside of the roster wise, there's a couple guys, but the guy, blanking on the name right now, but the guy that had committed to Kentucky originally, um, and
Oh, Boogie
and
Flan.
yeah, and came decommitted and came with Coach Cal all the way
Mhm.
here. Um, so all the way here, like it's far, but still, like that's that's big, I think. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how he plays out.
Yeah.
What about you?
Um, I think it is Brazil. Um, and by the way, too, is something else to make note of is the three transfers from Kentucky have been already with Cal for a year. So that's another thing is why he should have success with this first roster is because he has history of at least a year with some of these guys and then just in general him, rotating in 1 year players anyway. So, but yeah, I would say Brazil because I'm interested to see can he last a full season?
Yeah,
Um, Now, one thing I am a little concerned about is the depth at the forward. If Brazil can't stay healthy,
stay healthy. Yeah,
hmm and then say that maybe we even have another guy that is in and out. I don't know if Big Z, Adu, and what's his name, Brazil are enough. I think there might be one other big man that they got as like a backup, but dude, that only having three big guys ready to go, when one of them is known to be injury prone. Like Brazil has not made it through a season, I don't think his entire career without an injury. And
yeah,
so that is really concerning for me, but he has a lot of potential. But again, man, all these injury guys that are prone to it, they generally just it sucks. It really does. It sucks because, you know, th- they don't seem to be able to outgrow it. It never seems to go away. Um, the other guy, the guy who transferred from Kentucky, man, I think I closed that tab with the. No, I didn't. Okay, here it was.
the
Thiero,
sophomore.
Thiero, man. Thiero can play big too. Now he's not a forward, but he's a small forward or a strong forward. So like he can play big and help out down there.
And
But
yeah, he's six
man,
eight. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
he's got
And
the height.
Billy Richmond too is kind of that position too. But Thiero, yeah, 6'7", 6'8".
The kid from Croatia, I'm looking
Yeah, Big
at.
Z.
Yeah, 7'2", 245.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
yeah,
like if
transfer from
Brazil
Kentucky.
and Jonas Adu, if they have injury problems, I just I'm scared of the depth a little bit. And I was scared
Yeah.
of the depth with Musselman too. It just seems like maybe it's just really hard to get depth in that area because any good big man is just going to go to these other programs. Maybe it's just hard to convince like when you've already got three legit studs, it's hard to get that fourth one is just extra depth, and I get that, but it just to me it just seems like you needed just one more big guy. But we'll just see.
I think we've got, I mean, I'm looking at it, it's still like, one, two, like about 3, 4 guys that are technically would be the big guys. Like
Yeah.
you said,
Well, I mean like a forward. So like Brazil is a forward. Um Jonas Adu is somewhat a forward. He's like kind of both.
he's
He kind of is a
6'11", 240.
Yeah, he's a forward and a strong forward at the same time, or small forward.
Right.
Um, but
Um,
basically a four. So he's a four on the court. Um, but we'll just see. Maybe I haven't really compared this to another roster. Like if we pulled up Alabama, I haven't really looked at how many forwards they have
this
either.
guy's follower accounts on Instagram is also kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen that yet,
Big
but
Z.
like, he's got 32,000 followers. Boogie
God.
Flan's got 82,000 followers. Um, like as a freshman coming in, just having that much hype around you
Yeah.
is
Dude, people are
crazy.
hyping Boogie. They're hyping him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to see what is Brazil gonna do because they've been hyping him up at press conferences. The players have and Coach Cal. So I want to see Brazil. That's kind of the biggest thing I want to see. And man, I really hope that he can go through a year without an injury, or at least where it's
DJ Wagner,
minimal.
that's another guy I was thinking of. I mean, that's a guard, but
Yes, I
I
feel like
think
he's
I
underrated,
think he's going
man.
to be a stud.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Because he was hurt a lot of last year. But that's another thing. Can these guys stay healthy? Can Wagner
Yeah,
and Brazil stay healthy? And man, we've seen this in football and all sorts of sports, man. If these guys cannot stay healthy, I'm going to start having this mindset of if there's any history of injuries, just don't take them. And it's
yeah.
nothing. I guess it is something against these guys. I'm trying not to hate on them, but man, sometimes if you have the injury bug, it doesn't go away. And we're seeing this in football with Jaquin Jackson, and we've seen this in football with other players too. And with Brazil, we've seen this over and over again. And it's just like, man, if Brazil and Wagner cannot stay healthy, let's
Yeah,
hope
it's
that they
going to be.
do. Let's hope that they do. But but yeah.
It's gonna be also like how much playing time they get, what the rotation looks like,
Mm-hmm.
how much like they have to be kind of on the court and kind of get
Yeah.
fatigued. If we have a rotation that is honestly like can move around, we have the depth. I think I think there's a possibility you can stay healthy for a longer period
Yeah.
and do much better for a longer period if we have the depth and if we have the strong depth in terms of um, you can kind of substitute guys in and out and
Mm-hmm.
they will perform just as well. It kind of relieves that pressure.
Right.
Now we're always going to have the one or two studs that kind of have the him mentality, like
Yeah. 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 The lead.
that
Lead.
they're him, the
Yeah.
leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're going to take over. But
Yeah.
we need that, of course. But I think it's the rotation is going to be the key part in us doing well.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm really stoked for it, even though I kind of brought up some scenarios that may be a little scary or negative or whatever you might want to say, but I am
Yeah.
really stoked. I'm excited. I'm just kind of preparing myself for different situations for to react to, but hopefully our backups destroy Kansas on Friday and show a lot of promise. And I'm excited to see the depth in this team. I'm excited to see what the forwards look like. and just everything, man. Anything else you want to add before we head out of here, Sid?
No, I think we've talked about the preseason hype, and we'll continue doing this and seeing how the season plays out.
Yes, sir. Well, with that being said, I think that Heartbreak Hog podcast is going to be going out. Please check out our next video. We're about to do a recording for our top 25 game predictions for football. Um, it's always a fun challenge because the loser of each week has to eat something spicy. I will be eating a serrano pepper as we do predictions for week 9. Um, if you got this far, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, comment down below what you think. Are you excited for this basketball season? Do you have any concerns about, what could happen, maybe the depth, um, you know, uh, what we might do in the tournament with Coach Cal? Or are you super optimistic? Are we Final Four bound? Are we national championship bound? Let us know down below. With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next episode.